Nationalism is the curse of these islands. Whether it be Scottish nationalism, Irish nationalism, Welsh nationalism, and even now English nationalism. And I say this as a proud Englishman. I detest the sort of nationalism that says we're going to put England first, we're going to put Scotland first, we're going to put Wales first, we're going to put Ireland first and the dream of a united Ireland first, at the cost of destroying everything else. And we've seen the destructive nature of Irish nationalism, the violent destructive nature of Irish nationalism played out in the last century. But we've also seen the rise of Scottish nationalism. And while it hasn't been a violent force, it's been an aggressive political force driven primarily by hatred of the English. And now sadly, we're seeing the rise of English nationalism. And it's not as overt and as aggressive as the other forms of nationalism. However, it is probably far more dangerous. Because I hear people saying, well, if we get Brexit done and it means that Northern Ireland is eventually pushed out of the United Kingdom, so be it. It's a price worth paying. As a proud Englishman, I say it's not a price worth paying. But because before I am English, I am British. My identity is as a British Englishman. And my identity is rooted in the family of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland that we call the United Kingdom. And the structural integrity of the United Kingdom, to me, is a non-negotiable. I am a unionist. I believe passionately in the union, the real political union that we should be in, which is the United Kingdom. Which we should keep together, which is the United Kingdom. And of course, the European Union has been very clever, and the globalists have been very clever, because they know that the UK is better together. They know that there's strength in that unity. And yes, there's a lot of history, and there's been a lot of bad things done by Englishmen against Scotsmen, by Scotsmen against Englishmen, by Irishmen against Ulstermen, by Englishmen against Irishmen, and vice versa. We know the history, but we're not living in that past anymore. The United Kingdom is a fantastic nation. And Boris's deal, I was very distraught. I've just watched Katie Hopkins do a video, and I don't understand where she's coming from, saying that Boris's deal is the only Brexit we can get. Maybe Katie's been got to now as well as the rest of them. I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but the reality is Boris Johnson's deal will lead to the breakup of the United Kingdom, because the nationalisms in England, in Scotland, in Northern Ireland, in Wales, will be invigorated by this deal that Boris has done, because this deal does separate Northern Ireland from the rest of the United Kingdom. It might not do it politically now, but it will eventually. But economically, this pushes Northern Ireland into United Ireland. That's why Sinn Féin love it. That's why the regressive parties like the Alliance Party and the SDLP love it. Because the Alliance Party is just Sinn Féin light. It's just Sinn Féin for middle-class Catholics and prods. That's what it is. In Scotland, the SNP will be all over this. If this deal goes through Parliament, the SNP will quite rightly say, well, we voted Remain in large numbers. And then they'll want their own arrangements with the European Union. They'll be calling for a second referendum. There'll be a call for a referendum in Ireland. There'll be a call for a referendum in Northern Ireland. A border poll. That is what is going to happen as a result of Boris's deal. Boris's deal is catastrophic for the United Kingdom. And I'm saying this as an Englishman, so I can preach to the choir here. And I'm a very proud Englishman. When you leave England and live in a different part of the United Kingdom, you become more proud of your country, of your football team, of your rugby team, of your cricket team. Even if you're not big into sports, you become more proud of those national teams because of the friendly rivalry within the United Kingdom. So I'm an extremely proud Englishman, but I detest nationalism that puts England first, puts Scotland first, or even puts Northern Ireland first. We are one nation, a union of nations. And that has been a great and successful union that has spread democracy, Christianity, commerce, legal systems around the globe. And we're going to throw that under the bus because Boris Johnson couldn't be bothered to read the small print of the stitch-up deal that Michel Barnier and Leo Varadkar put under his nose. So I say to my friends in England, do not abandon Northern Ireland. And I was so encouraged. I was so encouraged on Friday and the previous Thursday, on the 31st of October, at that Brexit rally. There was a banner at the front of that rally saying, get the EU out of Ulster. There's been protests in Scotland, Wales, London, Belfast, just this Friday, outside the EU commissions, saying, sling your hook, get out of the UK. But Boris Johnson's deal throws Northern Ireland completely under the bus. There's no doubt about that. He doesn't even know what's in it. He came to Northern Ireland last week, made an absolute fool of himself. He doesn't even know what he signed up to. Made all sorts of assurances and promises he couldn't keep, and then he was contradicted by his own ministers. So Boris's deal is a bad deal for the Union. And if you think that England is going to do well outside of the European Union without Northern Ireland and Scotland, you're deluding yourself. Because what will happen is, once Northern Ireland and Scotland get hived off out of the Union, the case for England to rejoin the European Union will be stronger and stronger and stronger. And we will have destroyed the greatest country that has ever existed in the history of mankind. And I genuinely believe the United Kingdom and its peoples are the greatest country, or is the greatest country. So that's what's at stake. The United Kingdom, the future of the United Kingdom is at stake. Nigel Farage is the only politician, and I am no fan of Nigel Farage, believe you me. He called me and my colleagues and the veterans, the football lads, Tommy supporters, called us tattooed thugs. He destroyed UKIP. He could have had a fighting force to fight this election. He'd have had a good chance of winning. But Farage is the only one that's telling the truth about Boris's deal. So, what do we do? Well, I think I've said this before, if you're in a Labour constituency, you must vote for Farage. If you're in a Leave Tory constituency, then vote for a Leave candidate in a Leave Tory constituency. If you're in a Remain Tory constituency, vote for Farage. And Boris Johnson's feet need to be held to the fire, and the only way we can do that is by getting Brexit Party MPs into Parliament and getting lots of DUP MPs into Parliament. It's the only way that can happen. I don't believe Corbyn has a chance of getting power in the next election. But if it's a hung Parliament and the balance of power is held with Brexit Party MPs and with DUP MPs, we have a chance of getting a proper Brexit that gets the whole of the United Kingdom out of the European Union. Brexit has been betrayed by those dreadful, treacherous, treasonous Remain politicians. We could name them all: Dominic Grieve, Anna Sowerby, Yvette Cooper. You know the names. The Rogues Gallery, Chukra Amuna, David Lammy, the lot of them. Brexit has been betrayed by them. Totally, totally betrayed. But the reality is, the old saying from back in the 80s, never trust a Tory, is truer today than it ever was. I do not trust Boris Johnson. I do not trust even people in his party that claim to be ardent Leavers. I don't trust them. Unless they've got some secret, sneaky move to get us out of the European Union without a deal. But it doesn't seem that they have. They're going to go for Boris's deal. And Boris's deal is just Theresa May's deal, except with Northern Ireland kicked out of the Union economically. That's what's happening. Northern Ireland's been pushed into a economic united Ireland. So I say to my English friends, reject nationalism. Reject English nationalism. Say to my Scottish friends, reject Scottish nationalism. Say to my Northern Irish friends, we're in the fight of our lives. We are in the fight of our lives. And there's no more loyal British people on these islands than the people of Northern Ireland. You'll see more Union Jacks in this country per square mile than anywhere else in the United Kingdom. So I say to Scottish Unionists, English Unionists, Welsh Unionists, a lot of great patriots in Wales as well, stand with the people of Northern Ireland and oppose Boris Johnson and oppose his deal by whatever means we can. Whatever means we can. And if the political situation is such that Brexit has been totally betrayed, I don't know what we do then. I really don't know where we go next. But I know we go to the streets and we make life extremely difficult for this government. As Nigel Farage said, we need some controlled anarchy. That's what we need. We need to make our voices heard, and we need to realise what's at stake. Because this deal that Boris has done, this Little Englander deal, will destroy the Union, and it must be opposed at all costs. We've got to stop nationalism. We've got to stop Boris's deal. Whether it's English nationalism, Scottish nationalism, Welsh nationalism, or Irish nationalism, all of them are insidious and are poisoning politics in the United Kingdom. See you all soon.